You're Shifting Gears with Alan Bailey.
I really enjoy the smell of burnt rubber and race fuel in the morning. Sue me.
Whether it's NASCAR, IndyCar, NHRA drag racing, or AMA Supercross, we've got it.
I'm going to be unapologetic. I'm not going to hold back. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and I'm going to tell it like it is, whether you like it or not. Get over it.
Grab a gear and let's go.
Well, is it time to go already? Really?
You're Shifting Gears on ARN. Here's Alan Bailey.
Welcome on in. A very interesting, very special edition of Shifting Gears coming at you here on a Wednesday. That's May 21st, 2014. I'm Alan Bailey. You can get in on the conversation at The Alan Bailey on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. Also use the hashtag ARNRace to get in on this conversation as well. Well, something that is coming up on the show today. Well, driver of the number 25 Andretti Autosport Honda in the Verizon IndyCar Series, Marco Andretti, is going to be stopping on by and checking into the program. What is he going to be talking about? Well, there just so happens to be this big race in Indiana, in Indianapolis. Let's just see here. What race am I talking about? Oh, yeah, the Indy 500, the Indianapolis 500, happening at the Brickyard this weekend. And, oh, by the way, the Coca-Cola 600 happening as well this weekend. Kurt Busch trying to do the double. We're going to talk about the double. Marco's going to give us his take on the double and an update on how Kurt's doing after that crash earlier this week. Goodyear tire test for NASCAR. Also, NASCAR's Hall of Fame class announced a little while ago, earlier today. Let's just see. Sponsorship deals in IndyCar coming through the pipeline. Some nostalgia going into Topeka this weekend for the NHRA. And something that I didn't think that would happen, but it has. Off-road's back on this station. I'm actually pretty glad that it is. I think it's actually pretty darn cool. So we're going to be talking a little bit about all the above. Plus, it's Memorial Day this weekend, so we're going to talk about the weekend and about things that are coming up this weekend and just other news and notes, if you will, from the weekend and what Veterans Day really truly means. It's a concept that's kind of lost. We're going to talk about it a little bit on today's program. And yeah, we're going to get to all of this before we get to Marco. Marco coming up in the latter stages of the program today. But the first thing that we have to do in order to start everything off is get to our hot topics. We will start right here. It turns out that, yes, Superman is at the racetrack, and yes, he's in a Chevy. No surprise, the number 88 Dale Earnhardt Jr. National Guard Chevy going to be carrying Superman this weekend at Charlotte in a deal struck with DC Comics. Earnhardt and Hendrick Motorsports made the announcement and unveiled the paint scheme earlier today. You can log on to arnrace.com, or you can go to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at ARNRace in order to check out some images of Earnhardt's number 88 Chevy for this weekend. NASCAR teams have headed out to Kentucky for a Goodyear tire test, and a very important Goodyear tire test at that. Both Cup, Nationwide, and, yes, truck teams were out on hand for yesterday and today out at the Speedway taking laps. Kind of a scary moment earlier today when Brian Vickers crashed at Kentucky Speedway during the Goodyear tire test in Turn 3. Supposedly a right front wheel coming apart. Vickers reports that he's sore, but he's okay. He's already logged 10 laps in that other car, so all good there. Goodyear. Maybe need to go back to the drawing board? We'll get into it. And the NASCAR Hall of Fame class was announced a little while ago at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in downtown Charlotte. Year 5 2015 class members of the NASCAR Hall of Fame include Bill Elliott, Wendell Scott, Joe Weatherly, Rex White, and Fred Lorenzen. We'll break down their careers and give you an update on who they are and why they made it into the Hall of Fame in 2015. Also, in the NHRA, Chevrolet extending their sponsorship of the Detroit Bells Isles Grand Prix. And yes, it's a multi-year deal. Good to see them back. Kurt Busch also had a vicious crash in Indy 500 practice earlier this week. It happened when he slammed the turn 2 wall with the right side of that Andretti Autosports car around 1:35 p.m. earlier this week. Busch got out of the car under his own power, and yes, he said that the car did wiggle, as we saw in the video. You can log on to AronRace.com, and you can check out the footage of Kurt Busch's vicious crash during the Indy 500 practice. And yes, Busch had run a lap of 223.43 miles per hour. His fastest of the day was 225.62 miles per hour. That's currently good for 14th. Carburetor day, which is typically the 1 hour practice, is 11 a.m. on Friday. And yes, we look around the area, we look in the NHRA racing on Memorial Day in Topeka this weekend. We'll break down everything that's happening going into the 26th annual NHRA Kansas Nationals this weekend. Don't go anywhere. This update brought to you by our friends at Apollo Aesthetics. If you're looking for a brand new website or a redesign on the current website you have, just go ahead and log on to ApolloAesthetics.com. Tell them ARN sent you, and they'll hook you up with a brand new website. And yeah, they'll render it for you and give you a quote for free. ApolloAesthetics.com is your only place for your update. From the ARN News Desk, I'm Alan Bailey. Marco Andretti coming up later on in this hour. Plus, when we get back, we're going to talk about the NASCAR Hall of Fame class. Don't go anywhere. This is Shifting Gears.
This is ARN, the American Racing Network.
Hey guys, this is your buddy Lugnuts, and if you're looking to build a great website, then look no further than Apollo Aesthetics. Art and functionality merged into web design. It doesn't get any better than Ruben Asuna. Don't believe me? Check out ApolloAesthetics.com. That's Apollo, AESTHETICS.com. Apollo Aesthetics, the official web builder of Lugnuts Radio.
Army Specialist Andrew Pike became paralyzed while serving in Iraq.
My injury was a gunshot wound to the left abdomen from a sniper. My first contact with paralyzed veterans was in Walter Reed.
Paralyzed veterans National Service Officer Michael Killen.
We try to reassure them what benefits are out there, try to educate them and take some of that stress away from them.
Right now I'm going back to school to earn a degree, and I'm just spending time with my wife and child.
You can help our paralyzed veterans. Visit pva.org.
What is one NASCAR Unites wristband capable of doing? It can inspire a child to go farther in school. It can construct a brand new playground for kids who've never had one. It can introduce a child with a serious illness to his or her favorite NASCAR driver.
I'm Tony Stewart, and I wear my band to Unite for Kids. Band together with me by logging on to www.nascar.com/unites to pledge your support.
This is ARN, the American Racing Network. Shifting Gears on ARN is presented by Stash Feed. Get the feed. Log on to StashFeed.com, your daily manly feed. Your Shifting Gears on ARN, the Motorsports Authority. Here's Alan Bailey.
Marco Andretti coming up a little bit later on in the program to talk about the Indy 500. He's the driver of the number 25 Andretti Autosport Honda in the Verizon IndyCar Series. He will be starting 6th in the Indy 500. That's outside row 2 for the Brickyard this coming weekend up at Indianapolis. We're going to talk about not only this race weekend, this Indy 500, but the history as we get you ready for the 98th annual Indianapolis 500. But right now, talking NASCAR actually, because NASCAR making a bunch of announcements, making actually some pretty significant ones at the NASCAR Hall of Fame earlier today. They not only announced the Hall of Fame class, but a number of the inductees and the inductees family were on hand. We'll take you out to the Hall of Fame and we'll let you listen in to what transpired earlier today.
The 2014 Landmark Award is Anne Bledsoe France.
Big Bill France formed NASCAR in the late 40s. His son, Bill France Jr., kept the sport alive into the next century. But the story of another France is the story of nurturing NASCAR from infancy to a national phenomenon. Ann Bledsoe married Bill France in 1931. 2 years later, they started a family, a growing family. And family business kept Ann busy, but her experience in finance and administration served the Frances well. Over the decades, Ann B. France acted as secretary and treasurer of NASCAR, while also playing key roles at Daytona International Speedway and later the International Speedway Corporation. In looking after the faces, figures, and fans, Ann B. France became the matriarch of a motorsport empire.
Thank you, Mike, and congratulations to the entire France family. It certainly would not be a stretch to make the argument that none of us would be here today without the work of the France family in establishing this great sport. And now moving to the 2015 NASCAR Hall of Fame class, we can announce that there were no ties for the 5th position. Only one vote was necessary today. Now to announce the 2015 NASCAR Hall of Fame class, please welcome NASCAR Chairman and Chief Executive Officer Brian France.
Good afternoon, and Brett was right. This was undoubtedly the most difficult class to choose from. It was the most competitive and the most difficult. And with that, let's find out who's in the Hall of Fame. Please welcome Bill Elliott to the Hall of Fame.
With a nickname like Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, Bill Elliott was destined for NASCAR greatness. One of the most celebrated drivers of his era, Elliott's 44 Premier Series victories ranks him among the sport's top racers. A two-time winner of the Great American Race, Elliott was at his best on NASCAR's fastest racetracks.
Bill Elliott has won the Daytona 500.
In 1985, Elliott won an incredible 11 races, including the inaugural Winston Million, which earned him the nickname $1 Million Bill.
Bill Elliott has won an additional $1 million in 1985.
Elliott also holds the NASCAR record for fastest qualifying time, going more than 212 miles per hour in 1987. Elliott capped off a decade of dominance by winning the 1988 Cup Championship.
As he finally wraps up that championship that he has sought so long.
Always a fan favorite, Bill Elliott's accomplishments in NASCAR forever changed the sport he so dearly loved.
This next inductee gives me a little additional pride because he undoubtedly, with his family, climbed the highest mountain. Wendell Scott's in the Hall of
Fame. Wendell Scott wasn't the first man to run a race, nor the first man to win a race. But he was the first man of his race to win, and a man looked at first as an inspiration for what a sport can do in building community.
I guess from all the years that he ran the car and stuff, I guess he was able to make a living for him and his family, and he really enjoyed racing. That was the main thing. He enjoyed everything that he did.
A mechanic by profession, Scott began his racing career on the same short tracks that tested other NASCAR pioneers.
I met Wendell Scott when we were both running in the Sportsman Series. He was a good competitor. I mean, he was one of the people that you had to beat.
Scott's race began before the green flag dropped, just to stand on the grid, shoulder to shoulder with his peers. Those were the obstacles overcome that made Wendell Scott a driver to be admired. In 1963, Scott was the first driver to the finish line in a 100-mile event at Jacksonville Speedway Park. Although he may not have been able to celebrate with the trophy in victory lane, his achievements that day is celebrated by all who followed down the road paved by Wendell Scott.
One of the pioneers of NASCAR, Joe Weatherly, is in the Hall of Fame.
Joe Weatherly took racing seriously, believe it or not.
Crown Prince of Racing is Pontiac's Joe Weatherly.
Little Joe Weatherly liked having fun, but his first love was winning. On the track, he was all business. In 1962 and 63, he won back-to-back titles.
61, I had my own complete team then. I had Joe Weatherly, in 61. And 62, we won the championship with Weatherly, 62 and 63.
On the green flag, Weatherly in number 9 pours on the coal.
One of the early champions, please welcome Rex White to the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Never underestimate the heart of a champion. And Rex White's career in NASCAR's Premier Series proved that heart and determination meant more than his size and stature.
First car that I ever seen go around a racetrack, I told my wife, I said, that's what I'd like to do.
Rex White's NASCAR career was a model of consistency. He finished among the top 5 in nearly half of his 233 races, while picking up 28 career wins.
White gets the checkered flag.
His average finish for his career was a remarkable 8.983. That ranks as 4th best in NASCAR history. White was a short track specialist in an era in which those tracks dominated the schedule. Wheeling his Gold Thunder Chevrolet, White won 6 times during his 1960 championship season, posting 35 top 10s in 40 starts, to win the title over Richard Petty and earning the Most Popular Driver and Stock Car Driver of the Year award. He was the 4th driver to win a Premier Series championship in his own equipment and was considered an innovator in how to set up a chassis. He finished in the top 10 6 of his 9 years in the series, including a runner-up finish to Hall of Famer Ned Jarrett in 1961. White was named one of the sport's 50 greatest drivers in 1998.
Finally, he's been called one of the smoothest drivers in NASCAR. He broke in from the north, hailed from Chicago. Please welcome Fred Lorenzen to the Hall of Fame.
Fred Lorenzen didn't fit the look of a stereotypical NASCAR driver. He was young, handsome, and being from Chicago, he was not one of the good old boys from the South. Teaming up with Ford's Holman and Moody operation in the early 1960s, Lorenzen was an instant success.
We perfected it. I had a great crew, Herb Nabb, Wayne Mills, and mechanics, with the best in the country, Holman Moody, John Holman, Ralph Moody. The best there was. I had the best of everything. Ford Motor Company. When you got it all, it's easier to do.
In 1963, Lorenzen became the first NASCAR driver to earn more than $100,000 in a single season. In 1965, he achieved his most notable victory by winning the 1965 Daytona 500. At the age of 33, Lorenzen retired in 1967, while still at the peak of his career.
Yep, I retired too early. I just got burned out traveling. I just got tired of living in motels. And I was running like, if I wasn't racing, I was going to make an appearance somewhere.
Lorenzen ended his career with 26 wins in NASCAR's premier circuit. And for many that would follow in his footsteps, Fred Lorenzen created the mold for the modern NASCAR driver.
That is your 2015 NASCAR Hall of Fame class. Welcome on back. This is Shifting Gears right here on ARN. I'm Alan Bailey. That right there was what you heard if you were down at the NASCAR Hall of Fame announcement earlier today in Charlotte. And honestly, this is probably one of my favorite classes so far that have come out. Not that there's a least favorite, mind you, but just the quality of these drivers and these gentlemen that have come out of it's just unbelievable. They're all drivers, mind you. They're not mechanics. They're not crew chiefs, which I thought was kind of interesting that they're all drivers. Bill Elliott, Fred Lorenzen, Wendell Scott, Joe Weatherly, and Rex White. Personally, I've been calling for Joe Weatherly to be in the Hall of Fame with Curtis Turner ever since the beginning, ever since the first and second induction classes. So to see Joe, at least half of the Gold Dust Twins, get in there is pretty darn cool. Bill Elliott, to be honest, I'm a little surprised that he's in it on the first vote like this. It's a little odd, but I'm glad that he's in it. He's very well deserving. You look at Wendell Scott. I honestly am baffled that it took Wendell this long to get the necessary votes in order to get into the Hall of Fame. But honestly, he embodies the spirit of NASCAR, just persevering through adversity and just dealing with all the crap you have to deal with in racing, period. He had to deal with a lot more, and his hill was very, very, very steep, and he had to pave the way for some drivers in this sport. But you know what? He did it. He didn't complain about it a whole lot, even though he had every right to, and honestly, he won a race in NASCAR. No one will ever be able to take that away from Wendell Scott and the Scott family, and that is truly amazing that he's in the Hall of Fame. This is, I think, the feather in his cap to a pretty cool career. Rex White, amazing driver. Same with Fred Lorenzen. This is an amazing class in 2015. They will be inducted January 30th, 2015 into the Hall of Fame. I can't wait for that ceremony. It truly is going to be an honor to talk about these gentlemen from now until then, and to forever remember them in the Hall and to forever enshrine them in the Hall is going to be very, very special indeed. Lots of interesting stuff coming up over the course of the next 40 minutes or so left in the program here. We do have a visit from Marco Andretti, who's going to be joining us, calling in here towards the bottom of the hour. He's going to be participating in the Indy 500 this weekend. We're going to be talking about that race. It's going to be an interesting race, I think. It's going to definitely have a different type of feel to it, especially after the Grand Prix of Indianapolis and the start. I think a huge storyline is going to be Kurt Busch doing the double. Marco's going to give us his take on that and really get into why Kurt has a legitimate shot, and is Marco or any IndyCar driver going to ever attempt to do the double into NASCAR? Can it be done? We see NASCAR drivers do the flop all the time, or at least we had, and it kind of stopped because of the scheduling conflicts, but over the past few years when it opened up, the opportunity arose. Kurt's jumping on it. He's a competitor. He's fierce. He's a fierce competitor, and he knows exactly what he's capable of. He's capable of wheeling these race cars, whether it's an Indy car or whether it's a stock car. He knows how to drive it, and he's going to go down there, and he's going to give it his best shot. I truly think he actually has a legitimate shot. Whether or not that race goes his way, I can't tell you. Whether or not the team performs, I know that they'll perform, but it's a matter of where cautions fall. It's a matter of luck. It's a matter of how the car is handled. But I'm very curious to see what he'll be like. Not so much at the Indianapolis 500, because he's done 500-mile races before. I think he'll be pretty fresh and pretty relaxed come the end of the Indy 500. But really, it's going to be the plane ride there. It's going to be the first 100 miles into the Coke 600 that he's really going to start feeling it, and definitely the last 100 miles of the Coke 600 is where everything is going to kind of come to full flourishing if he can actually make that stint. truly, I hope he just finishes every lap. I think that's a very good goal for him and for both of those race teams. I think that they should just aim to finish every lap, not so much worry about where you finish, because if you go out there and you compete and you do your best, you're going to have the result to show for it. But I think that if he focuses on just finishing every lap and logging those laps, that he'll truly, truly complete something very special that has only been done one other time by his team owner in the Cup Series, Tony Stewart. So he's going to try to complete every lap. That's a feat in and of itself. We'll see if he can do it. I think he can. I think it's just a matter of keeping him hydrated, keeping him fit, keeping him all there, frankly. We'll see what happens. It's going to be truly special if he can pull it off. It really will. On that note, we'll go ahead and we'll step aside. When we return, Marco Andretti will be checking into the program. Don't go anywhere. This is Shifting Gears.
This is ARN, the American Racing Network.
Hey guys, this is your buddy Lugnuts, and if you're looking to build a great website, then look no further than Apollo Aesthetics. Art and functionality merged into web design. It doesn't get any better than Ruben Asuna. Don't believe me? Check out ApolloAesthetics.com. That's Apollo, AESTHETICS.com. Apollo Aesthetics, the official web builder of Lugnuts Radio.
Army Specialist Andrew Pike became paralyzed while serving in Iraq.
My injury was a gunshot wound to the left abdomen from a sniper. My first contact with paralyzed veterans was in Walter Reed.
Paralyzed veterans National Service Officer Michael Killen.
We try to reassure them what benefits are out there, try to educate them, and take some of that stress away from them.
Right now I'm going back to school to earn a degree, and I'm just spending time with my wife and child.
You can help our paralyzed veterans. Visit pva.org.
What is one NASCAR Unites wristband capable of doing? It can inspire a child to go farther in school. It can construct a brand new playground for kids who've never had one. It can introduce a child with a serious illness to his or her favorite NASCAR driver.
I'm Tony Stewart, and I wear my band to Unite for Kids. Band together with me by logging on to www.nascar.com/unites to pledge your support.
Hi, I'm Jeff Hammond alongside NASCAR driver David Reagan.
When it comes to tire safety, nothing is more important than your tire's air pressure.
Just like a pit stop, checking your air pressure takes just a few moments.
And those few moments will not only keep you and your family safe on the road, it can also help save you money.
Properly inflated tires can improve gas mileage, which will save you money at the pump.
So be tire smart and make sure your tires are properly inflated.
Learn more at betiresmart.org. A message from the Rubber Manufacturers Association.
This is ARN, the American Racing Network. Shifting Gears on ARN is presented by Apollo Aesthetics. Log on to Apollo Aesthetics to start building your new website today. Your Shifting Gears on ARN, the Motorsports Authority. Here's Alan Bailey.
So I don't know if you've heard or not, but there's this little race up in Indiana that's happening this weekend. It's the Indianapolis 500, 98th running of it, and honestly, this is the race of the year. It truly is. It's one of the races that you mark on your calendar and you circle, and you just have to watch it, whether you're an Indianapolis fan, whether you're a native, whether you're somebody who just came into this country, whether you're a race fan or not. It's one of the events, and honestly, whether you're an open-wheeled fan or not, you should probably watch it. The 98th annual Indianapolis 500 is this Sunday, the Sunday that we've been waiting for, well, it feels like about a year. One guy who's certainly ready to go is driver of the number 25 Andretti Autosport Honda in the Verizon IndyCar Series. He's on the phone with us right now, Marco Andretti. Marco, welcome on in.
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for joining us. I got to ask, is it kind of like, okay, enough of the TV cameras, enough of the microphones, I'm done talking about it, I'm done testing, let me just race. Come on, I want to race.
Yeah, no, exactly. I can't wait to get in the car someday and relax.
Amen. Leading up to it, do you put more pressure on yourself? Does the team put more pressure, or is it just the media, or the combination of everything that leads up to the 500?
I think it starts, in from 1969. Ever since we've been trying to win that race again, it's just been building. So it's a good pressure. I think it's one that, first of all, I think we're going to have a great shot at winning. So the pressure is just to capitalize and to lead the right lap this year. We've led plenty of laps at that place, but I'm not interested in dominating this year. I'm just interested in being at the right place at the right time.
I think between all 500 miles of that race, I think the lap and the mile marker that I think you guys haven't led, or you guys have led the least, I should say, is that 500th mile marker lap.
Yeah, how about it, man? Lap 200.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, that leads me into this one. You look at your grandfather, your father, you have, Jeff and John, your whole family have been racers and have raced at Indianapolis. Did that kind of lead to the pressure, of your family or you saying, hey, I'm an Andretti, I kind of have to be a race car driver?
Well, I started at a young age, and the pressure is a lot. When you're 9 years old, you have so many cameras around and you don't really know why. You just want to go drive. But, I did test my father and grandfather. I backed away from it 1 year. I think, just to see their reaction, and I don't know, maybe their reverse psychology worked on me, but they said I didn't have to be a driver. And but then once I stepped away from it, it wasn't even a half a season, and I needed to feel what it's like to not drive. And once I felt that for a split second, then I needed it, and I think my approach changed from that point on.
No, absolutely. And you were talking with Marco Andretti, driver of the number 25 Andretti Autosport Honda. And Marco, you look at just growing up in that atmosphere. It had to have been exciting as a kid, but what was it like going down to Indianapolis as a kid in the month of May and just more or less living at the Brickyard?
Man, that's exactly right. Like, a month out of the year, almost every year of my life I spent there, so it became a home away from home. That place means the world to me. I do feel at home when I go there, but just the feeling you get when you drive under the tunnel, it's just it's unbelievable. All you think about is this past races there, and it's all the history since 1911. It's just unbelievable.
No kidding. And you look at that track, what was it like for you when you were taking your first laps and when you were leading the thing in 06? Never mind the finish, but you look at that racetrack, it's unlike any racetrack in the world with the grandstands on both sides, down the front stretch, the yard of bricks. What was that like for you as a driver to first take laps at speed on that race course after seeing your father, your grandfather, your whole family race on that track?
Quite frankly, it's a driver's dream. It really is. Drivers want to take their machines as quick as you can possibly go, and Indianapolis allows you to do that. With the geometry of the track, the long straightaways. Where the speed that we're able to run there, it's anything a driver would want. And just blessed to be with an opportunity to compete in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at 2006, obviously I have to ask about what was 2006 like for you? Did it kind of, obviously you kind of lingered on it a little bit. You'd have to be a cyborg not to think about it a little bit. But, at least from where we were sitting, it didn't look like you could have done anything to prevent the finish of 2006. Is it something that you kind of dwelled about for a little bit, or is it something that you just kind of put to rest early on?
Honestly, the only reason I've gotten a full night's sleep since 2006 is because I'm not sure there's much I could have done, and I could have blocked them, but, you never know what happens when these cars touch at north of 230 miles an hour, so it would have been ugly. I know he wasn't going to back off, so you don't want to win an Indy 500, upside down for sure.
No.
I'd love to win it, but you don't want to injure somebody in the process, so, I don't know.
On the flip
There's not much I could regret.
On the flip side of that, I think your mother is grateful that you didn't do anything else, because I don't think she would be able to sleep at night knowing the outcome of that race had you made a move right there at the end.
I think you're probably right. Exactly.
We're talking with driver of the number 25 Andretti Autosport Honda in the Verizon IndyCar Series, Marco Andretti here on ARN. And you look at Indianapolis, there's so many traditions in Indy, whether it's the milk, whether it's the parade. What is something that stands out in your mind as a favorite of yours personally?
I just keep picturing, the milk, I guess. Just that moment where you're raised up on the platform and then you realize you're champion. I mean, I'm sure it would take probably more than a week to set in fully, but you know, probably just that moment crossing the finish line first. You know, I mean, that's all that you can really picture, and you try not to think about it too much, but you know, I believe that for any athlete, you need to picture yourself successful in order to be successful.
No, absolutely, and I got to agree with you. The milk is probably one of the cooler things that come to my mind, and victory lane right there. But you look at what's going on in IndyCar right now, there's a lot of different things surrounding this race. Kurt Busch is getting a lot of attention, especially from the NASCAR crowd. He's trying the double with the Indy 500 and, of course, the Coca-Cola 600 in NASCAR on the same day. Is it something that, you know, obviously it takes an incredible level of athleticism in order to do that? Is it something that you think that you might be willing to try one day? You did sports cars a few years back, but is it something, NASCAR, is that something that's kind of on your radar in the double someday?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the double is you can't just jump into Charlotte in a cup car. You know, I think if the second race was Daytona or Talladega, maybe, because it takes out the element of braking and weight transfer and all the rest of it, because it's pretty much flat-out racing.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I have been picking Kurt's brain on the plane yesterday and stuff like that, and I'm a racer as much as he is, and I would love to, you know, as long as it's a competitive seat, I think I'd race a tricycle. So, you know, that's the way we're wired.
Absolutely. And, you know, you've obviously been with Kurt through a lot of this. Have you given him a lot of advice? Has he sought advice out of you for this, or is it something that he's just kind of leaning on his team for right now?
Yeah, I think, you know, I've been his wingman for a lot of it. You know, I mean, we've spent a lot of time together recently, and you know, I think we've developed a lot of respect for each other. You know, and it's been a lot of fun. You know, it's cool to see the determination that he has, and you know, it's just cool to see an outsider's perspective, because, you know, in a sense, he is a rookie, even though he's a NASCAR champion. So it's a pretty unique situation.
No, yeah, that's something that I'm still kind of rattling my brain about. Kurt Busch, rookie. But you look at it, do you think that Kurt, or any other driver for that matter, could actually win both races in one day, 1,100 miles? You think it's physically possible?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you know, I believe, you know, the way he's wired is similar to me, and I'm not going to sit in a race that I don't think I can win it, you know. You know, there's been races where I knew I'm up against more of a challenge than other races, but with an outside chance, you can still win it, even if things not ideal. You know, you never know what's going to happen. It's 500 miles.
Absolutely. And talking about other, I guess, news and things that are a buzz right now in IndyCar away from the 500, standing starts were brought back this year, and it's something that in Long Beach it had good results, but a couple of weeks ago the results weren't so spectacular, and a lot of people are saying standing starts need to go away completely. Is it something that, you know, you were involved in 2008 when they did the last standing start. Is it something that you want to see more of if it's done correctly, or do you think it needs to just go away altogether?
I mean, that one's up to the fans. I mean, I'm cool with whatever. I believe the problems have been happening because we need more horsepower. You know, I'll probably get in trouble for saying that, but I'm going to say what I think. We need more power, you know, so these things aren't dying off the line and people are getting, you know, it magnifies when it's a pole sitter and you got, you know, 25 cars coming behind you. And the way these things accelerate, you know, the guy who started 25th was probably doing 130 miles an hour with a car that's just sitting there stopped. So from that standpoint, it's pretty dangerous. But, you know, luckily I just missed them. You know, I started a couple rows back, and I almost got taken out, but we managed to get back.
Yeah, no kidding. Do you think it could be done right if it's done on a track that's a little bit more open and not so closed on the front stretch, or do you think it's just something that needs to be tweaked here and there, like you said, with the power package there?
Well, it's obviously the short-term fix. I believe we need to make the gap from box to box bigger, because I think that was one difference. It seemed that the car was literally parked right in front of you, that if the guy dumped it, it was going to be tough to miss, you know, so maybe just a little more margin.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. Well, Marco, thank you so much for joining us today. I greatly, greatly enjoyed this. It's been a privilege. Good luck on Sunday, and good luck to your family in winning that race and many, many races in the coming years.
Well, thanks a lot.
I mean, what do you really say right there? I mean, Marco, thanks to him for coming on. I mean, I love talking to Marco. I've talked to him off mic about 5 or 6 times at the racetrack, and he's so down to earth and he's so relaxed, but when he's at the track, he has tunnel vision, and he's right here in this zone. He doesn't hear anything else, just what he needs to hear. And it's a little weird because he's so focused. But when he's talking normally to me, he's more relaxed, he's more fun, and thanks to IndyCar for helping with that one, because they did a spectacular job to get time set out of his busy schedule. And honestly, they've been all over the place. IndyCar's had their drivers all over the place this week promoting the Indianapolis 500 this weekend. At one point, and a friend of mine here in Los Angeles who's on the radio also brought it up, a sports talk figure here in Los Angeles brought it up too on the air, and it made me really think. You go back 10, 15 years ago, the Indy 500 was a huge event. The world basically stopped and paid attention to that track in Indiana. And now it's like, well, yeah, the race is going on. Cool. Have fun with that. People have lost interest. And why is that? Well, I don't know. It's an interesting situation because people have always cared about that race, I think. But really, a lack of knowledge and I think a lack of caring kind of is the culprit, if you will. I think another big part, Danica Patrick. A lot of people don't know, and trust me, I did a poll actually before I came in here. I went and I was doing some errands with some friends, and I was out shopping and things, and I started asking people, "Hey, the Indy 500s this weekend?" And they were like, "What? No way! Oh, that's cool. Danica Patrick's still racing in it?" And I said, "No, she's in NASCAR." And they went, "Oh, they should have another female driver racing in that cars. That'd be cool. I'd root for her." What? There are a few actually, man. There's quite a few drivers actually that are female in that series. What? No way, really? Since when? Are they new? Well, they've been there kind of a while. Oh, really? Okay, maybe I will watch then, huh? That's the reception. There's just a lack of knowledge, and whether you say it's the media not covering it correctly, whether you say it's just lack of advertisement, I don't know. I simply think it's because you haven't had a woman who has a sponsor that puts them in Playboy or Sports Illustrated or whatever Danica was in with GoDaddy. That doesn't mean that they're not there, that the driver's not there. Just because a female driver doesn't objectify herself and go get into a bikini for a calendar shoot for Sports Illustrated, that doesn't mean that they're not there. Granted, that's how she gets her attention. That's how Danica became Danica. She basically got in Sports Illustrated. Great. Congratulations. Good for her, though, because she's playing the game. She knows that the chances of her being recognized are pretty low, but she went out there, she did a cover for Sports Illustrated in a bikini with her driver's suit coming off, and then everybody kind of stood up and said, "Whoa, when did race car drivers get hot? Ha 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 ha." That's what basically most of the country did, and everybody kind of stood up and paid attention to Danica Patrick and to the Indianapolis 500 when she was in it. Sad but true. That's the truth, whether you like it or not, whether you want to admit it or not. So does IndyCar need something like that? Do they need a gimmick? Do they need somebody to go, "Yeah, I'm a woman, hi, how are you"? No, we have women in the sport. It's not uncommon. It's not something that honestly makes you go, well, we don't really see these guys, in the field, these women, rather, in the field. What are we going to do here, huh? Let's have one of them go get in a bikini and do a photo shoot. No, that's not what IndyCar is thinking. That's not what they're going to do. Come on. But here is your lineup, actually, for the 89th Annual Indianapolis 500. Ed Carpenter, James Hinchcliffe, Will Power on row 1. Row 2, you have Helio Castroneves, Simon Pagenaud, and Marco Andretti 6th. You have Carlos Munoz, Joseph Newgarden, and J.R. Hildebrand. Row 3. Row 4, Juan Pablo Montoya, Scott Dixon, and Kurt Busch. You have Jack Hagsworth in row 5 with Justin Wilson and Mikish Aller. Row 6, we have Tony Kanaan, Sebastian Bourdais, and Oliver Savitra. In row 7, we have Ryan Hunter-Reay, Graham Rahal, and Carlos Hentress. In row 8, Pappas Man, Takumu Sadu, and Alex Tagliani. Row number 9, Townsend Bell, Charlie Kimball, and Jacques Villeneuve in row number 9. In row number 10, we see James Davis, Martin Plowman, and Ryan Briscoe. And hitting up row number 11, we have Sage Carman, Sebastian Saavedra, and Buddy Larzik. That is your starting lineup for the 89th Annual Indianapolis 500. You can catch it Sunday on ABC starting at noon Eastern with their coverage. It's going to be one heck of a race. I truly think that. But it's one of those things where you need to watch it, honestly. If you're not a race fan, if you're kind of a half race fan where you're half paying attention, you need to absolutely go watch that race. Sit down, watch it. Sunday, where am I going to be? I'm going to be watching the Indy 500 very early in the morning. It's 9 o'clock on a Sunday here in California, which, honestly, I'm not looking forward to waking up at 9 a.m. I'm not. This is, I guess, what some of the problem is a little bit. The fact that you have half the country waking up, for the most part, to the Indy 500 is a problem, because I don't know about you, when I wake up on Sunday, I spend about an hour in a haze before I actually start to get going. Usually I park myself in front of a couch and watch some form of racing. That's my Sunday ritual, and I have a lot of racing to come on Sunday, whether it's the Indy 500, whether it's the Coke 600 on Sunday night, or whether it's the Kansas NHRA Nationals this weekend that'll be on ESPN as well. I'm going to have a busy weekend. I'm going to have a great Sunday, and I truly cannot wait for it. I'm actually very excited because I get to relax a little bit and see, what's going on. Now, a lot of people are asking me, oh, who's your pick for the 500? You can't pick one. I got my little fantasy league, if that's what you want to call it. You can't bet out Will Power. I'm keeping my eye on Power. I'm keeping an eye on Castroneves. By the way, I love that Pennzoil car, retro car. Awesome. I'm actually keeping an eye on Dixon. I think that he's going to be good. And actually, I'm keeping an eye on row 4 in general, whether it's Montoya, Dixon, or Kurt Busch. Those three drivers I'm keeping my eye on, because whether it's Dixon, who I think will win the thing, Montoya, who's kind of looking for redemption at this racetrack. He's come very close a few times when he was racing in NASCAR to winning at this racetrack. I think this place, I think he kind of wants to get back into victory lane because he's led so many laps in the past 10 years or so here in a stock car, but he definitely wants to get back into victory lane, and I think it'd be pretty cool if he did it in an open wheel car at this particular race. It'd be amazing. It truly would be. But honestly, other than Montoya, Dixon, and Busch in row 4, the guys who I'm keeping my eye on are coming from near the front, whether it's Power on row 1, whether it's Castroneves on row 2, and I'm keeping an eye on Marco in row 2 as well, because I think it'd be very cool to see him get a win in this race. I think it'd be life-altering for his family and for him. He has a couple of wins in this series, but honestly, it would be life-altering. It would be career-altering for his family, kind of redemption. It would be amazing for his father, for his grandfather, to be around and to see him win this race. It would be life-altering, and it would, I'll admit it, if he wins this race, I think that you're going to see father, son, and grandson all in tears at some point, and yeah, I might shed a tear or two for Marco, because that would be pretty darn special to see him in victory lane at this race in that race car, his father's race car, his grandfather's and father's team. That would be extraordinarily cool to see that happen. On that note, we're going to go ahead and step aside for the final time. Interesting reactions to the Hall of Fame, and this one coming on Facebook, which has my attention. I just saw it and I just lost it. Go figure. Go figure. I'll read it to you when we get back. Do not go anywhere. You know why? Well, that's because simply you're shifting gears right here on ARN.
This is ARN, the American Racing Network.
Hey guys, it's your buddy Lugnuts, and if you're looking to build a great website, then look no further than Apollo Aesthetics. Art and functionality merged into web design. It doesn't get any better than Ruben Asuna. Don't believe me? Check out ApolloAesthetics.com. That's Apollo, Aesthetics.com. Apollo Aesthetics, the official web builder of Lugnuts Radio.
Lobster, harvested from the cold, clear waters of Maine, is truly the world's ultimate white meat. It has a distinctive flavor that's both mild and slightly sweet, and is so easy to prepare. Maine lobster is good for you too. It's one of the healthiest and leanest proteins available, containing less fats, calories, and cholesterol than beef, pork, or even the light meat of chicken. For exciting recipes, visit our website at mainelobsterpromo.com.
This is ARN, the American Racing Network. Shifting Gears on ARN is presented by Stash Feed. Get the feed. Log on to stashfeed.com, your daily manly feed. Your Shifting Gears on ARN, the Motorsports Authority. Here's Alan Bailey.
Well, that just so happens to be me. Welcome on in. You're Shifting Gears on ARN. You can get in on this conversation, and I could tell this is going to take a right-hander right here. You can get in on the conversation at the Alan Bailey. Also, use the hashtag ARNRace in order to get in on this conversation as well. On that note, I'm going to Twitter, regretfully. We'll see what happens. I'm a little concerned, truthfully. If you're sensing me sighing with disdain, yeah, it's coming. Honestly, it's here a little bit. This one coming on Facebook rather. This one coming from Terry. NASCAR announced 2015 Hall of Fame class. Why should I care? Guess what? I don't. Hashtag still don't. Okay. This is just an example of a bitter fan. There's a lot of bitter people out there in the world, and I'll say it. I don't care. I'm not protecting anybody except the people who work here with me. As I look around the room, I'll take a bullet for about half of them. You know which half? You know which half? No, maybe. The hell no, I'm not. No, I'm not taking a bullet for you. I'll take a bullet for you, you, and you. Yeah. You guys are awesome. You guys, nah. You, hell no. Hell no. I'll probably be the one shooting it. That's not premeditated. I'm just kidding. You know I am. But honestly, why should you care about the Hall of Fame? It's history. It's cool. You're honoring drivers, men, women, who have done incredible things in their sport and in their industry. If you're not interested in that, then get the hell out of my sport. I don't want you in it. Period. The Hall of Fame is interesting. The Hall of Fame is cool because you get to see men and women in our sport who have done amazing things, whether it's in NASCAR, whether it's in NHRA, whether it's in whatever. It doesn't matter. It's an amazing accomplishment. Any Hall of Fame is. And to have a place in the Hall of Fame that belongs to you as a person, as a competitor, is something that is very special indeed. If you don't see the recognition, if you don't see the purpose in that, seriously, blocked. Get out of my sport. I don't want you anywhere near it. Seriously. Get out. Now. Don't want you here. This one coming on Facebook as well from Joanne. Loved that NASCAR just elected their first African American into the Hall of Fame. Hashtag equal rights. Yes, that's very cool. It truly is. And I want to be perfectly clear here. Wendell Scott did not get into the Hall of Fame simply because of the color of his skin. He got into the NASCAR Hall of Fame because of what he did in this sport and everything that he put up with and he endured to get that win in order to compete. He put up with a lot of crap. Frankly, a lesser man, frankly, me, would not be able to put up with half the crap he put up with throughout his entire career and throughout his personal life at that time. Keep in mind, he was racing in the 60s, the 50s, the 60s, and into the 70s a little bit in NASCAR competition. How different was this country in the 1960s? How different was NASCAR in the 1960s? NASCAR didn't allow women in the pits and in the garage area until the late 70s. That's the world that we lived in, okay? Let alone a person that was different because of the color of their skin. I love that Wendell stood up to people. I love that he didn't take crap from anybody. And I love the fact that he did what he loved despite all the crap that he had to put up with. Whether it was people, whether it was actions from people, or fans. There was a lot of racism in NASCAR. Believe it or not. And guess what? There's still a little bit of it. Not on NASCAR's end, but on the fans' end. I'm calling out NASCAR fans right now. I don't care. Listen up. NASCAR fans still have a handful of racists in the grandstands. Trust me, I still hear a number of obscenities coming from the grandstand at certain racetracks. And yes, I'm talking about local short tracks and the big cup tracks. They're all over the place. It's not anything that's new. This is something that has been around the NASCAR universe for years. It's been around the country for years. It's been around humanity for years. It's always going to be here, unfortunately, I believe. But we can take steps in order to make sure it goes away. Wendell Scott competing and winning in NASCAR and, yes, getting elected into the Hall of Fame are steps in that direction. I'm not saying this is going to correct a problem, but it's a step in the direction. Wendell was an amazing man. He was an amazing human being that did amazing things on the racetrack with very, 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 very little support. Very little support. And he somehow managed to continue to do it, continue to compete, and competitively compete, mind you. He only won one NASCAR Now Sprint Cup Series race, but that record will still stand. That record will stand forever, and that record will be in the NASCAR Hall of Fame come this time in January. I can't wait. I am super, super excited for the man and for his family. The look on his family's face and to hear the crowd as his name was called by Brian France was something that was pretty special, and it's one of those moments that's going to stick in my mind for the rest of my life. It truly was very cool to witness that earlier today at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. This one coming from Dave Jones. We do feature local racing here on ARN, and this one coming from Dave. It says, on the pit lane, we'll be at Lee County Speedway Thursday night. It's going to be a great night of racing. Dave, I agree with you. There's nothing like racing in the middle of the week. Saturday night short track racing is great, don't get me wrong, but when you're just Thursday night, it's a nice little preview to the weekend for me. It's kind of like, the weekend's almost here. I can have some fun. Lee County, I know of that of that speedway. Great facilities, great racing out there. A lot of cool local guys out there racing, and truly, I have fun, man. Seriously, be safe, have fun, and enjoy, my good friend. So it's going to be very cool racing out there. What are you doing at your local short track race? Let us know at ARN Race on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also use the hashtag ARN Race Local in order to get your stories heard on this program. It's something that we will feature. And yeah, I may or may not be partaking in Thursday Night Thunder out at Irwindale this week, or tonight rather. They're going to be out there doing some drag racing, and there's some junior drags coming up this weekend too. I love junior drags because, don't get me wrong, adults are like this too, but kids, when you get a kid behind a race car, there's something contagious about their enthusiasm and their excitement. It's so cool to see that look on a kid's face when they're getting into a race car, whether it's a junior drag comp, whether it's a bandolero, whether it's a mini truck, whatever. It's so cool to see them just perk up when they get behind the wheel of those cars, and I look forward to it when I go out to the racetracks out here in Southern California and anywhere, frankly. It's very cool to see the look on those kids' face when they get into those race cars and actually get a chance to race, and I don't know. There's something about it. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. On that note, we are running out of time. This weekend is Memorial Day, and you're asking yourself, yeah, barbecuing, yeah, fireworks, yeah, fun. Yeah, I'm not going to take away from all that. That seems to be the tradition of where America's going. But remember, it's not just about blowing off fireworks, having barbecue, and getting Monday off from work. It's about remembering the men and the women who sacrificed a lot for this country and that still continue to suffer. remember Veterans Day. It's not Barbecue Day. Remember your veterans. Okay? ARN salutes you and thanks you very much for your service to this country. I'm Alan Bailey. That's the show. You've been shifting gears on ARN. We'll see you at the track.
Check out arnrace.com to keep up with the latest news, photos, podcasts, and interviews from the track. You've been shifting gears on ARN, the American Racing Network. Broadcasting from the ARN Racing Studios in Southern California, ARN Los Angeles. This is ARN, the American Racing Network.